Hey techies, welcome to Elephant Code. If you are new to the channel, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. You are watching a video from the PySpark playlist.
Back. So today we are going to see how we can create Spark data frame using nested row. It is exactly similar to how we have done in the last video. The only difference is, I mean, there we were taking only one row class where we have created a kind of list of rows with the help of row classes, and then we try to bind it with a schema while creating the Spark data frame. Okay, so in this video we are going to do the same thing, but instead of a single row classes usage, we will be using nested row classes usage. Let us go to the practical area where we can explore this further. So I'm going to take the same example as I had taken in my previous video. So here we already have created this. See, the very first thing is we need to import this row classes which is existing in PySpark.sql module. Okay, once we are done with it, I had created one class, create data frame with schema. Okay, now inside this I had created a kind of row classes list of row classes at row classes data. So here what we can do, I mean we can since we are doing a practical of the nested row, what we can do, let's say I'm creating a schema, emp schema. S- Okay, so here I can give it like row. So I'm defining a kind of schema for this with just the name. Okay, so I'll say that this is nothing but id, name, so I can make it capital name, and then I'll say that this is my address field. Okay, so now here what I can give data using row, I'll instead of row I can just use this self um, dot emp schema. Okay, so I can use this instead of row because we have already defined it with this row class. Okay, now here I don't need to give this ID and all. I can directly give the value since we have already defined it in the defined here in this part. Okay, so I don't need to give all this. Okay, so now this is done. Now for the address, what I can do, I can open one more row class constructor, and I'll say that city1. Okay, and I'll say that city2. Maybe this city1 would be, I can give it as maybe Ahmedabad, and here I can give Mumbai. This could be the permanent city, and this could be the current city. Same for the second record, I can give Zo. It could be Kolkata, and I can give the present city as Pune. I can give this as permanent Delhi, and give the temp one as Mumbai, and I can give some data here. Maybe I can give Hyderabad, HYD, I can give here as Mumbai. Okay, so now this is kind of data we have already prepared. So what we have done, we have taken the employee schema. Okay, in the employee schema I have given three different attribute name, ID, name, and address for ID, and then I'm making use of this schema. Okay, this schema is nothing but defined with this particular row classes. Okay, so this employee schema we are passing the value for ID as 1 Raj, and for the address we have created a one more nested schema which is a row classes called which gives two information. One is current, one is kind of permanent city, and one is current city. Okay. Now the second part is defining the data type for all these three columns. So I have the ID. I have already defined the ID as integer type, name as string type. Then I need to define the address. Okay, for address I'll say that struct field address address. Now this is a kind of nested field, so I need to provide the nested structure. Okay, so I'll say that, okay, here I'll be needing struct type. Okay, now inside the struct type I'll say struct field. Okay, struct field, and then I'll say um, permanent city, and it will be of string data type. Okay, and I'll say the value is true. I mean, I'm allowing to keep null. And then the other uh, is current city. So I'm defining the data type for permanent city and current city. Okay. So there we have created a kind of, nested row. So similarly, we need to also define this nested struct type for defining the data type. Okay. So now here I'll say again, this is a kind, wait, went. Again, it is a kind of string type. Oops. And I'll say nullable like equal to true. Okay. So this is enclosed, this is enclosed, and finally this is enclosed. Okay. And then this one is there, this one is there. Okay, fine. Let us ignore that. Okay. I think there's one comma which is missing here. Okay, fine. And here also I missed out one comma. Okay, fine. So now I have the data already prepared. Okay, I have the schema already prepared. So what I need to do, I need to create a data frame now. So while I'm creating the data frame in this method, what I'm doing, I'm passing this data which I've created here. Okay, so this is my data. So I need to pass this data while creating the data frame. Okay, and I also need to pass the schema in the sense the data type and all, constraint data type and all, while creating the data frame. Okay, now I'm creating the data frame, creating the data and creating the data frame using this data and schema. Then I'm coming to the main function. Okay, in the main function, what I'm trying to do is creating a object for this particular class where we have written the logic for creating the data frame and then calling the method which is creating the data frame. Okay, so I can give it as nested row and nested row. Okay, so I can use this nested row method here and oops, okay, and then I'm showing up the data and also showing up the schema of the data. Okay, so let us execute the code to see whether it is working perfectly or not. So it is quite simple. I mean, as you can see here, let's wait for the output. Done. See, now we receive the output. Here you can see the data is already displayed on this screen. Okay, and it has properly shown the nested data as well for the address field. So we have the ID 1234. So all these names are already binded to this data. The name which we had defined in the first row, the outermost row, this one. Okay, this one. Okay, and inside the address also we have the data coming as a nested data. So the nested row is working perfectly. And then what we had done, we had attached a particular schema to this data where we say that ID is of integer type, name is of string type, and address consists of two field, permanent city, current city, and these are of string data type. So while we print the schema, we can see it is exactly similar to what we have defined in our schema. So ID column is nothing but integer, name, string, address consists of two different sub parameter, and those are permanent city and current city, and both are string data type. Okay, and for all the columns, the nullable constraints are true. Okay, so this is how you need to do create your data frame with the help of nested row. So let me just put a revision here. So what we have done, we have now we were doing the practical of the nested row. So what we have done, the outermost row, we took it outside and created a kind of template here with the help of row classes. So here what we have done, we have defined all the columns which are needed, and we need to bifurcate this address field into multiple different attribute. Okay, so this is the outermost attribute which we form a kind of schema, okay, with the help of row. And thereafter we create the data. Okay, for creating the data, what we have done, since we have already used this row classes and given a name employee schema, we use this employee schema, and then thereafter we give the value for each of the name here. So here it is like one large, and for the address this is the sub or nested row or sub row. Okay, so one large, and then for the address it is going Ahmedabad and Mumbai. For the second record it goes to Vikram, and then it goes Calcutta and Pune as an address, address field. Thereafter, what we did, we created a kind of schema for this, wherein we defined the data type for each of the attribute present. So for the ID, we have given integer type, nullable true, name, string, address. For address, as we are giving multiple value under the address with the help of this sub row, we also need to provide the structure or schema for this nested attributes. So what we did, we again open the struct type, struct field, struct type. Under this struct type we have two different struct field, which is permanent city and current city, where we define the data type, okay, nullable equal to true. And thereafter what we did, we create the data frame in this particular method by passing the data, this data, okay, this data under the data parameter, and then under the schema parameter we pass this schema which we have defined here. Okay, and thereafter we created the object of this particular class where all these operations are carried forward, and thereafter we call this particular method and display the data. Okay, and then thereafter we are displaying the schema also, and there we saw our output. Okay, there we see our data. It is exactly the way we have formed, and here we see the data type. So schema is also correct, exactly what we have defined, and data is also coming exactly how we have given the data using the row classes. Okay, so that's all for today. Now it's quiz time. Thank you.
Elephant quiz of the day. What is the primary purpose of using a nested row class when defining a PySpark data frame? Option A, to represent hierarchical data structures. Option B, to enforce strict typing for each column. Option C, to simplify the process of defining schemas. And option D, to optimize memory usage in data frames. Mention your answer in the comment section below. So that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe Elephant Code for future updates.